Hello there, runNers. It's Manny again, and I know I said I wasn't going to do a video until next week, but I think just like everybody, last night I was watching a football game and I got a notification, had to stop everything I was doing, so I heard the big news. If you haven't heard now, which I'm pretty sure most of you have, there is a big change at the top at Disney World. CEO Bob Chaepek is now out, and Bob Iger, the former CEO, is back in place. So what does that mean for Run Disney? So before I get started, I just wanted to say thank you guys again for supporting the channel. Please subscribe to the channel. Please share it. It's growing. This is your channel. Guys, I'm going to continue to grow this channel. I got some ideas that I'm going to be coming up with pretty quickly. But guys, subscribe, hit the notification buttons. And thank you guys for being you. And let's get right to it. So when all of this happened, I keep thinking about this. And this is the way I am. That's in the past now. Okay, so we are moving away from Bob Chaepek. What is it going to mean for Disney and either directly or indirectly for Run Disney going forward? So I came up with some ideas of what may happen. Some of them will sound a little far-fetched, and as I go along, you might be going like, oh, he's got a point there, and hopefully you think that. So I'm going to start off with park reservations. Now, you guys are probably saying, Manny, I'm going to be running the race. What does park reservations have to do with my run? And directly, nothing. Indirectly, a lot. And I'll tell you why. A lot of you guys ask about pictures. So afterward, you're going to have to go, or you're going to want to go to a park to take pictures with your medals, all right? So if you have a park reservation, you're going to be able to get into that park pretty easily. If you don't, or you don't have a park hopper, then that is going to make it a little bit more difficult. Now, I'm wearing one of my vintage, older Goofy Challenge shirts. So let's say you run the Goofy Challenge, so you run the marathon, and it's your first time running at the park at a certain time, or you see something that's picturesque at Animal Kingdom, but you have a reservation at Magic Kingdom. So what does that mean? I can't go, I can't switch it. Right now, you cannot. So I think that park reservations is one of the biggest topics right now. Are they going to change that? My guess is they're not, and I'll tell you why. So the park reservation helps out in the fact that now if we have park reservation for 50,000 people, then we know we need food for 50,000 people at least. If we can actually do stuff with merchandise, we can do stuff again with people. We can actually pre-plan on how many people we're going to need to staff that day, because we know that some rides are going to be a little bit more popular, so they're going to have longer lines, so we're going to need more people, more staff. So I can see them keeping the park reservation system. I think a good way of fixing this problem, instead of making it at 2 o'clock where you park hop, is maybe a couple of hours afterward you can park hop. And now also another option is going to be is, can you change the park the day of? Now, they will tell you no, but it has happened to me before where I went to the wrong park the first time and they changed it and they let me go into that park. So it can happen. So I believe it's going to be something, or they can change it to something like that, make it a little bit more user-friendly. And again, it is going to help you guys if you want to go get your photos in certain places and you find it that it's going to be quicker to get to one park, or you badly want to go to one park instead of the park that you had the previous reservation for. So that's the way park reservations can be affected by this change, because again, we're not sure if Bob Iger is going to keep the park reservations, but so that's touching on that subject. Then let's move on to the next topic. So a lot of these topics don't have directly to do with Chaepek or Iger. So, but I thought of these just in case. Okay, so and I'm going to get to a topic later on. The last one that I'm going to get to is going to basically touch on all of these either directly or indirectly. The next one is going to be more spots in the run. So was there more spots in the run in the past? I think so. I believe so. When you look at the finishers, there was more 15, 17,000 at times. Now you're looking at 9, 10, 12,000. So I believe that there isn't as many finishers, which means there's not enough spots, or there's not as many spots as there was before. So will they open up more spots? That has a lot to do with the staffing. Do they have enough staff to support that? And so my guess is, now that Iger is back, that there is a possibility that there will be more spots. So what you will see is for the popular runs, like Wine and Dine. The first three are usually the most popular. Wine and Dine, Marathon Weekend, and the Princess are going to be pretty popular. So those you might see last a little bit longer than they have the last couple of years. But we'll wait to see about that one. But I do think that they might up the capacity of each run. So let's get to the next topic. So I am going to lump all of these together because I kind of had them separate, which is annual pass holders and DVC, and then Club Run Disney. So when Club Run Disney came and actually the pandemic hit, it gave Disney the opportunity to take away early registration for annual pass holders and DVC members. Now we still have that for pass holder preview, DVC previews. So we have that for rides, but we don't have it for Run Disney anymore. Do I believe that it will come back? Because now that they've kind of switched it over and Club Run Disney now can register early, do I believe that they will let annual pass holders and DVC members come back? I think it's a small possibility, but I think they will. I think they could do it, but there is going to be a cap. So it's going to be a little bit like a regular registration where you're going to have to get online and you're going to have to register pretty quickly, because if you wait a day or two, then you're not going to be able to get into it. Now, the thing is right now with Club Run Disney, you have, 5 or 6 days to register and you have that spot. So it's going to be a little bit different because, again, once that the clock hits whatever it is, noon, 11 o'clock, 10 o'clock, whatever it is, whenever you're trying to register for DVC and annual pass holders, I think if they do decide to go back to that, it's going to be a race to get that registration in as quickly as possible. I do think there's a chance those come back because unlike the predecessor, Iger does like pass holders, or seems to have like pass holders. So that was one of the perks that they took away. I don't know. Will we get it back? Maybe. Another thing that I think is a possibility of coming back is, and you haven't seen this in a while, and it was actually pre-pandemic, yes. Post-pandemic, they almost did it, and then they stopped it again, was pre-packaged sales for Run Disney hotels. So you can call the number itself, the Run Disney, and you could package it all yourself, so it all come in one bundle. Or you can get a travel agent to get that for you. The good news about having a travel agent get it for you is they have a direct line, so you don't have to worry about registering yourself, and they get all that information for you. So the bad part about it is they still have to send you the registration code. You got to put it into your system, log into your system, and get it into your system. So it takes an extra step instead of you logging in, registering, and you got it right there. So it's just one extra step. I personally think for a lot of people it's probably worth it. The people that are working during that time, that can't take the time off, people that are newer to it and don't understand the system, that might take a little bit of the pressure off of you. Just people that don't want to deal with the headaches and they can register ahead of time. I think that's a great idea. So will that come back? I think, again, it's a slight chance that these might come back, but since I have friends of mine who are travel agents, I'm going to find out before a lot of people are, so I'll let you guys know if they do bring that back. Okay, the next one is going to be the expo. I like the virtual queue. I don't know if I'm in the minority. I think it's kind of split across the middle. I think if people get in there early, they're happy. I think if people get in there later and they see the stuff that they want, it's not sold out, those spirit jerseys, pins, the magnets, whatever it is, I think that they'll be happy. So I think that it works. Now, I'm going to say this because I think that the resellers aren't watching me anymore, and so I'm going to say what they need to do to fix it. I think if you notice, whenever you go to get your virtual queue for, let's say, Rise of the Resistance back when it was in Hollywood Studios, and Cosmic Rewind when it's at Epcot, if you notice, every morning it's there, but it'll only trigger if you have a park reservation at Epcot for that day, and it'll only trigger if you had the Hollywood Studios one for that day, right? So I do hope that they actually do it to where they link our emails or our account numbers. So if you're registered for that run, then you can register that morning for a slot. Because I still think now, when we checked and we actually had somebody at a resort check to see if they can log in and register, and they could. So they actually got a spot in there, and they weren't running. So they got a spot to go to the expo, and they weren't running. So keep it just to runners. I think that's fair, because now runners and their families. So now the only people that we can get after, when it comes to reselling, is other runners. So it's not going to be open to anybody else. I think other runners may be resellers. So now we have somebody to say, all right, you guys are the ones that are doing it, instead of all over the place. Disney cannot control everything. Disney cannot sit there and say, all right, you're a reseller, you're not a reseller. That would be outrageous. That wouldn't happen. So, but this is a way of controlling that. And I think it's a good way. It might not be ideal with the time that we want to go, because I like to go first thing opening day in the morning. Some of you guys want to go in the afternoon, but might have to go a little earlier. Whatever it is, it might not be ideal when it comes to that. But at least we have some kind of compromise so that we don't have to deal with resellers. So, okay, the next one is going to be something that I'm very hopeful for. And as time has gone by, I have become more and more hopeful that this is going to come back. Now, when they initially put in the 4th runs at Disney World, and actually was a 3rd run at Disneyland, it was Star Wars. So Star Wars was there. I thought that was a great run. But people are not realizing that, especially towards the end of the Disney World runs the last few years, they weren't selling out as much. But then I looked at the pattern, and it's the same thing for the Springtime Surprise. So I do think that 2023 is etched in stone. So they're not going to make any of these changes anytime soon. But 2024 is up for grabs. I do think that 2024 is going to be a Star Wars theme run. Why not just make it permanent? It was something that people liked. Now, it's never going to be selling out, because you got to remember, because of the way that the season starts, it starts in November, and that's at the end of Wine and Dine. It starts cooling down. So people like to run. They've been running all summer. They want something that's a little bit cooler, something at Disney, so that's a good one. Marathon Weekend just has this aura around it. It's been the first one. This year is going to be 30th anniversary. So will the longer runs sell out as quickly? Probably not in the future, but the rest of them will. The 5K, the 10K, half marathons and stuff. Dopey seems to sell out pretty quickly. But Goofy and the marathon usually lingered a little bit. I think it might go back to that. Then you go back to the Princess, which is a huge, it has a huge market with the females. The females love it. The males like to be there to cheer the females on. And so that's another very popular one. And then you got the 4th one. And by that time, I think that there's a little bit of a burnout, because you've done 3 runs, and then also the money part about it, and you're staying on property, so there's that, and then you want to buy more, more merchandise, so it becomes more and more expensive. So that's why I think that going back to Star Wars was going to probably appease a big portion of your population that's going to just want Star Wars. If you look at my Springtime Surprise from last year, a lot of people dressed as Star Wars. My guess is that 2023, a lot of people are going to dress as Star Wars. I had my Star Wars shirts on that whole weekend. So that's it. The only thing I asked runDisney, again, I know that you watch, is this. I asked you that since I was Legacy, keep the Legacy. So like the first 3 years I had run it, and so then you canceled it, and so the whole hope is that when if you do bring it back, I'm hoping you do bring it back. That'll be my 4th year, and then the next year is the 5th, and I get to be a Legacy runner there. And guess what? You got yourself a lifetime Star Wars runner. But I do think there's a good chance that Star Wars might come back. I might even start a petition. Be on the lookout for that. All right, so let's move on. So with all these things that I've said is stuff that might happen. Probably some of them are probably not going to happen. Things that are not going to happen is they're not going to change the theming of most of them, except for maybe the Star Wars one. They're not going to change the dates. They're not going to change the registration dates. Things like that are not going to change. They're not going to change the location of the expo, that kind of stuff. But nobody's really, angry about that. Here goes a thing that I think that they can change. I think that they can change it almost immediately. And I also think they should change it now. And this is just the workers. Back in the day, they had a certain amount of full-time workers. when the pandemic hit, that was an excuse to limit those workers. So what they started doing was, and you guys want to know why it was harder to get on the phone with them, why it seemed like to go downhill. There was less people working them. They got rid of a bunch of them. They brought in seasonal workers that were from other places. I got to meet and talk to them. Every single one of them, fantastic people, but they didn't know Run Disney. They were trying their hardest. They were trying their hardest to kind of appease people and stuff. But imagine if you're working in one department, you're working in the clothing department, then all of a sudden they send you to electronics and they say, "Hey, explain to me the insights of this TV." You're probably going to be lost, and so that's what's going on with them. They're a little bit lost, and now they might be a little bit intimidated because there's runners that have run for many years, and we're telling them we know more than they do, and so they're probably freaking out, going like, "Okay, then, I don't know what to tell you and stuff," because we tell them, "Well, last year they did this," and "Oh, well, I wasn't here last year," and stuff. So why don't they bring back more full-time employees? You can send them out, but they're fully trained for Run Disney. Now, with that said, piggybacked is they had a better IT department, but when I think about it, they actually went through a third-party system for registration, and registration was seamless with them. And so that was through active.com. And so now when they went to their own, they didn't bring this great IT. They just kind of brought them in whenever they needed them to. I have actually talked to them at some of the races. I was staying in the same hotel with them a little over a year ago for Wine and Dine, so I got to chit chat with them, and they're there to help you guys out. I think that's one of those things that you can bring back, especially with Iger coming back. Iger did an awesome thing. This is what I define as leadership, is just taking the initiative. Late last night, he emailed all his employees and basically saying, "Hey, I'm back. I'm going to take care of you," and so forth. That is what leadership does, because a lot of these employees are just sitting there. Just think to yourself, every day you don't know if you're going to be fired. You hear about layoffs. You hear about we're a hiring freeze. You hear that we might be moved. We might be going here, going there. It's uneasy on the mind. So Iger comes in, and right away he puts their minds at ease. So I think that Iger is going to be better when it comes to managing the people here. I think you're going to see a little bit more seamless stuff. I think it's going to be a change that little by little you're going to see implement better and better things. I don't think you're going to see anything major until basically they announce the 2024 runs, which are going to include the Disneyland runs. I think Disneyland Paris is going to be is going to follow sometime soon after that. There's going to be a revamp of Club Run Disney. There's no way they can just do it. I don't think that they would just keep it on one coast and not on the other coast. I think they're going to have something where it's going to be a combination, or you can pick your coast. So there's going to be a lot of changes going on right now. And I think the one thing that I am encouraged by this is, as far as being a people person, Iger seems to be a lot better equipped to handle people. So I like that, because now you're going to see a lot more of the positivity. You're going to see it come back. I like the move. So guys, with that said, I don't want to get into any of the stuff of, am I happy, am I glad? I always wish for the best for people, and I wish that they would learn, just adapt, and then do the right thing, and basically take care of their internal clients, and so that their internal clients can take care of their external clients. That's the way Walt was. That's the way Sam Walton was. That's the way it should be. And so I have a feeling it's going to go back to that. Is it going to stay? It remains to be seen. So with that said, guys, I'm going to wish you a happy Thanksgiving. Happy and healthy Thanksgiving. Guys, have an amazing, just magical time with your family, with your friends, and see you sooner than later.